Are we recording? Yes, we are. So welcome to another of my video podcasts. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I'm not sure when I'm going to upload it, but we are here. So let's crack on. Before I start, just a quick reminder of my filo-fax Kensington giveaway. I will leave a reminder at the end of this podcast on what you need to do. So, first of all, Thank you for joining me, by the way. I'm going to start, this is mainly going to be I'm going to try and keep it fairly short. So I'm going to start with how I'm getting on with my filofax Portlands. You'll notice that this is the subject of a recent video where I modify the pen loop to stretch it to the point where it will... I've taken all my data out to show you again. This pen loop will take a fairly chunky Kaweco Sports pen top, and then I just unscrew the pen right and then put it back in. One thing that I failed to point out is that I've done it this way round because I find it's very, very therapeutic to write horizontally. And I cut my own paper, so it's fairly, so I don't have to worry about lined paper. It's just blank paper. But I do it this way round simply because the pen is removed in my left hand and then I can write. And it had occurred to me that I ought to mention the fact that obviously you can fit it either way round, but if you are right-handed, then maybe it'd be better to, instead of inserting it from this end, insert it from the other end. So you pay some money and you take your choice at that. But I'm finding this a really, really good inbox, a capture device for my thoughts. And I have lots of paper lying about the house in different places, but when I go out I take two things. One is my Guildford Mini Extra Slim, but I also have this as a sort of this is sort of reminders, if you like, and my diary of sorts. But this is just quite a nice writing tool in itself. I'm liking it. I didn't think I would like the idea of using a pen loop for a pen like this, but it is actually quite a therapeutic thing, I find, to just be able to unscrew the. I mean, I'm doing it again because it's just such a pleasurable thing to do and write. It's like, I can't describe it, but it's, it's good to, it's a good feeling to be able to do that rather than have to faff about trying to find a pen or extricate it by sliding it out and trying to poke it back in. And as I've described many a time, it's difficult with this type of fold over arrangement, but like this, where the cap stays in perfectly all the time, unless you wish to remove it, that works really, really well. So I'm very pleased about that. Okay, next thing, moving into my Guildford Extra Slim shortly. So that's what I've written. So basically I have, as a quick reminder, my Guildford Mini Extra Slim, which has seen better days. And I've recently acquired another Guildford Mini Extra Slim. They're as rare as hen's teeth. Anyway, I've got another one, and I was going to keep it until this one bit the dust, as it were. But this could go on for the rest of my life. So I'm going to treat myself rather than resell this. I'm going to treat myself for the purposes of experimentation, because what I want to know, given the fact that this was in this condition when I bought it, and then very, very rapidly it ended up like that. I am going to, what I'm going to do, and you can see this is absolutely sensational quality at the moment. See that? It's even got the ring protector that was there when it was purchased. So at the moment there's no cracking. It's not being used, and it even came boxed. So I don't know whether this has ever been used in anger. But the thing is, I'm willing to sacrifice what is a spectacular binder in the interest of science. And also, I would hate to sell this to someone, and I could describe this as virtually unused or apparently unused, or it's immaculate. But what if they had the same problem, i.e., they've been persuaded to purchase this because it is such a fantastic, iconic binder from filofax, very, very sought after actually, because they go for quite a lot of money, and there are not many of them. And then with it, they discover with this one that it's starting to crack very, very quickly, and it ends up in an appalling state. So I've decided to remove that risk by just using this as an experiment. So I will be using this on a daily basis very shortly. And I won't actually do a separate video about it because, it's not really worth doing that. But what I will do is I will use this video podcast to keep you updated, in amongst other stuff, of how this is going. Will this, once I start using it in anger on a daily basis, will it start cracking like my other one? Or could it be that this is just a glitch in the system, and although ostensibly this leather is the same, in reality it's not, and this was just maybe a bad batch that was prone to cracking? Who knows? But it will be interesting to see, because there are so many filofax binders from this era that use this type of leather, the Guildford line in particular, but also the executive, they call it the mini executive deluxe leather, and so this is slightly bigger than the Guildfords, and yet you can see that the same problem exists with that. So I don't know. I don't want to bang on about it that much, but I'm going to keep you updated. I think that'll be quite an interesting exercise, because this is immaculate. It's as new as you can get a binder that's come all the way from around about 2007 to the present day. So 16 years old, unused, or virtually ostensibly unused. I want to see how this leather reacts to being used on a daily basis as an EDC, an everyday carry. So there we go. So comments and responses. What I've done this week, because there are just so many that I could pick, I've actually picked all these comments are actually from subscribers. I've just focused on subscriber comments. So if you it's a bit of a plug really, but what I'm inferring is, if you want your comment or your question to be featured in the podcast, then what I'm minded to do is I try and answer every single comment, whether people are casual viewers or subscribers. Anyway, I mean, I'm pretty good, at least at the moment. If you're watching this as I record this in April 2023, but obviously if you're watching this in 2025 or 2026, then if I get so many comments that I can't respond to all of them, then I apologise. But right now, if you're listening in April 2023, I'm responding, excuse me, to all your comments, but I'm prioritising comments from subscribers in this video podcast. So first of all, this subscriber says, I'm totally with you when it comes to using a pen and writing things down. I was reading a research paper about it. In fact, the study found that those who put pen to paper to record info were able to do so quicker and retain more of the info to memory compared to those who recorded info digitally. Do you know what? I totally agree with that. I'm not aware of this particular research paper to which the subscriber refers. However, I can well believe that. I certainly find, when I was at college revising, etc., and doing professional exams, I found that, back in the day, we didn't really have much option to record things via computer. But I've always, as you can probably tell, I've always been a proponent of writing things down on paper. So much so that I've developed this guilt of using too much paper, and that has transformed how I use my paper. So I'm now trying to use paper as efficiently as possible, and I've mentioned this in several videos about how I use offcuts and bits of scrap paper, junk mail that comes through the post. If there's blank paper in there, I will cut it out and put hole punches in it and use it in an EDC, for instance, to jot down notes. So I'm very, very keen on that, but I can well believe that. So thank you for sharing that. Next comment. I just want to say that I love. Okay, so this is I like this sort of comment, but I'll read it to you. Just want to say that I love your videos, and I've seen all the ones on Flatability. So clearly, this is a subscriber that shares my enthusiasm for Flatability, which, I'm not going to bang on about it because I can easily digress I could talk about Flatability for hours. But essentially, I think if it is if I'm using a personal size binder, I like to have good flatability. If it is something I take out with me, flatability is not so important. But the holy grail, I suppose, is if you do have a mini-sized filofax that has good flatability. That is something, because that's almost impossible to achieve because of the construction methods and the leather used for mini-sized filofaxes. So what does this person say? As a male, so that's good. That's good that there's when I say that with tongue in cheek, because I recently shared my stats, my channel stats, with you guys, which showed that there was a more or less an exact 50-50 split between female viewers and male viewers. But we had this discussion, didn't we, where it was the case that this is probably skewed by the fact that I'm talking about vintage filofaxes, of which there are many fans and collectors and users of vintage filofaxes who are male. So a good mix of 50-50 split. But I digress. As a male, I appreciate having filofax videos that aren't all decorating them with stickers and washi tape. I just like having a good system to help me keep track of my life, and I'm enjoying your longer podcast videos as well, as I spend many hours sitting in my car with nothing to do. Thank you for all you do. Well, that's very gratifying, and thank you very much. Obviously a very, very happy subscriber. Got a few points. First of all, if you're sitting in your car, I hope you have your hands on the wheel and you are focused on your driving as you're listening to my podcast. and only watching it if you're stationary and your engine is switched off. Certainly in the UK, and this is really interesting, and about a year ago, just over a year ago, the rules changed pertaining to mobile phones. So, and this isn't, I'm not suggesting in any way that my subscriber here is doing something wrong, because I don't know where they live, I don't know what the rules are, I don't even know what they're doing. They just might be listening to it with the phone on the back seat, etc. Or they might, this is interesting, they might even be a YouTube premium subscriber. And if you have I'm not, but I have been for a month to just try it out on a free trial. And if you are a YouTube premium subscriber, you can switch off your screen so it goes dark, and the YouTube videos will still roll. So effectively you're listening to them, and you're not wasting your battery. That's something that is becoming very, very common as YouTube becomes not only a video platform, but a video podcasting platform where people primarily want to listen to stuff, but they might want to see the person doing the audio. So as I understand, I mean here am I, that's what I'm doing, and I'm acutely aware that there could well be people out there, and I don't know what the percentage. I mean, let me know if you are listening to this rather than watching it. Give me some feedback about that. But I don't know how many people are doing that. But I am. What I'm trying to do is, when I am doing these video podcasts, they are predominantly the spoken word rather than me showing things. I mean, I do tend to show things, but I'm trying to ensure that people who just want to listen, I can help facilitate that by predominantly making this an audio thing, if you so wish. It can be enjoyed just as purely as an audio output. This is very complimentary. Thank you very, very much about that. And the guy says he's been, he's not a fan of stickers and washing tape. Hey, I defend the right of people to decorate their filofaxes. And why not? It's not something I don't do washi tape, but I must admit, occasionally I have used photographs as dashboards, as dividers. So in a way, I am decorating. I have a propensity to decorate my own filofaxes. So why not? Why not? But I am clearly not demonstrating what to do with washi tape or decoration, because it's a very, very personal thing. I mean, when I'm talking about the technical side, the construction or the flatability or whether or not a binder is when it was made, what leather was it made, what I think of the leather, all those things are very, very appealing to me as someone that uses predominantly filofaxes as working tools, although I do have some binders that I don't use because why did I buy them? Well, because I like them. And you cannot have too many filofaxes in my book. But so I'm kind of, in another lifetime, maybe I would be into washi tape as well. But I certainly do decorate some of my filofaxes by using old photographs as dividers and dashboards. So I am in the decorating category. I've got a foot in the decorating camp, but largely the weight is largely focused on my other foot, which is very, very much in the working tool camp. with a nod to collectability as well, and certainly a desire to have more filofaxes in the future. So, bit of an interesting one, but it's an important subject because this subscriber is just illustrating the fact that apart from the fact he's enjoying my output, which is great, and I'm very, very grateful. I thought I would highlight this as an example in the podcast and discuss it because filofaxes are all things to all people. I mean, no one should. We can state our case, but we mustn't demonise or use derogative terms to describe people that have different tastes and different ideals in life. We are part of a broader church, which is largely filofax with other binders, and hey, long may it continue. I mean, I love the fact that and this is a digression, but I love the fact that okay, so I'm going to be talking about this later. So this field engineer's diary, probably from the 1970s. This is old, battered, and has been used in anger, very much in anger, and I don't know how it came to pass that person stopped using it. Maybe I am the umpteenth owner of this, or maybe I'm the second owner. I don't know. But I like when I handle these binders, especially the old vintage binders, I do. It's not like I get some sort of sixth sense of. It's not like I'm getting vibes through my fingertips about the previous owner or anything like that. But although let me just. I am susceptible to that. Let me just pause and tell you something that is kind of strange, but slightly related. So, for a couple of years, I bought from a museum a bronze bracelet that was about 4,000 years old, allegedly, and it had a certificate of authentication. I mean, I don't know, but the thing is, I wore it, and I definitely got the vibe of the person who used to own it all those maybe 4,000 years ago. It definitely made me feel slightly weird in a good way. So that was quite almost like quite a heady experience. So maybe I'm susceptible to that. With filofaxes, I don't have any of that, but I do think about the people. I do think about the people that have been the previous owners of these binders, and also the fact that I'm almost certainly not going to outlast these binders. This binder will be around maybe in 100 years' time to maybe 300 years' time. You just don't know. I mean, I was in the British Museum a while back, just before COVID, and I was looking at St Cuthbert's diary, which is the oldest. It's the oldest bound book in Europe, and I believe it dates from the 8th century. And it looks in fabulous condition. And the only reason why it survives is because it was interred in the coffin of St Cuthbert, and then he was. The coffin was moved and opened, and the book was placed elsewhere, stored elsewhere. But the thing is, it's in exceptionally good condition. So, if I mean, I don't want to be morbid. I'm not planning on I'm not planning on doing this. But for instance, if this, I instructed my executor to leave my Guildford Mini Extra Slim, which I use as an EDC, in my coffin, and it just so happened to be lead lines, and it just so happened that the conditions were such that this would be this leather would not deteriorate over the years. And then I was dug up by some archaeologists in 500 years' time, and they said, "Oh, look at this! What is this?" And one of them was, "Yeah, that's a Guildford Mini Extra Slim from the 21st century." You don't know how much history can be imbued by an article such as filofax. But I'm clearly straying into the realms of incredulity here, notwithstanding the fact that I'm physically entering the arena of the unwell. So maybe I'm allowed the luxury of thinking like this, but I do think about the people that have owned binders that I now own. And okay, I know it's a bit of a euphemism to say, well, I am a custodian of the products, because that's what people that are kleptomaniacs say to get around the fact that they've just owned too much stuff. However, I also think about the people that will maybe own a particular binder after I'm gone. Well, anyway, I'm digressing far too much. But thank you for your comment. It's really, really interesting. Okay, next comment. I had to drop a comment. I've been watching a bunch of your videos recently and love them. I know very little about binders and filofax, but having recently started keeping a steady journal, I love hearing about them. Your videos have kept me company on many a writing session, and I wanted to say thank you. Your interest and enthusiasm is so catching. I mean, what a wonderful... I'm going to give the gold star, this week's gold star, to that subscriber. What a lovely thing to say. I do have this interest. I wouldn't say it's an obsession. Although, having said that, I have got 78 bicycles, so I don't need 78 bicycles. But I defend that I give myself the rights to have 78 bicycles. So that's another thing. I know someone that's got about 20 guitars. Well, I've got more than 50 and less than 100. I think that's perfectly all right. But some people would say that that's excessive. But you can tell by my mannerisms and the things I talk about, and in infinite detail, and sometimes particularly with this podcast, this video podcast, I'm kind of allowing myself to digress, and I certainly have been today, to digress and talk about filofaxes and other binders that are available in a way that might be perceived by other people as a bit unusual. But I don't see it as unusual at all, and I do have this interest and enthusiasm, as the subscriber kindly points out, and she says that it's so catching. Well, that's great. I definitely think, and I'm going to digress again, and I feel confident that those of you who are watching or maybe listening don't mind about this. But I think we're in a situation where maybe there's going to be a resurgence in terms of binders where you can which allow, with rings, although they can, these discs like the ARC notebooks, etc., that mainly rings though, that allow this thing where you can reposition pages. with so much in the world, with so many security issues in the world, I'll tell you what, there's a lot to be said for jotting something down when you're out and about. And I'll digress again. Okay, and one of the reasons why I'm becoming more and more keen on jotting things down in filofaxes is because I was at my daughter's house a few weeks ago. We were talking about cancer because she's my daughter. She really worries about me, and by the way, I'm good at the moment. I do have cancer, and the reason I mention that is because there are some people that are starting to say, how are you doing? Well, I'm good at the moment, thank you. And we were talking about cancer, and she has Alexa in every room in the house, which is great for the grandchildren because they'll say, Alexa, what's the time? Or whatever, sometimes they'll ask very, very cheeky answers, and there's some interest, as kids do. You can imagine I'd certainly do that if I was that age. And we were talking about cancer, and suddenly my Facebook ads appear, giving me loads and loads of stuff about cancer, loads of ads. So you don't know. I mean, this is a thing with Siri on mobile phones, Apple phones. It's also an issue with what they call smart TVs. And we sometimes play a little game. They say, let's pick a subject and talk about it and see how long it takes before our social media is populated by ads. Even Instagram now. Have you noticed if you're on Instagram, you're now getting ads? On my email client, I'm now getting ads as well as the emails themselves. Because if you're using a free email platform, then they have to recoup their money somewhere. So there is this general awareness. People's awareness is becoming more acute with regards to what they talk about, how they communicate on social media, etc. And this thing allows you to a certain extent. For instance, I'm a bit of an Apple fanboy. I mean, I've got all these Apple devices talking to each other. My computer here, my computer there, 3 phones. Downstairs I've got a laptop. So, you add something to one and it populates on all of them. But I'm very, very careful not to use Alexa, not to use Siri, and not to I try not to use the Apple's Reminders app, which is normally very, very good, but there are times when I feel very, very reluctant to dictate into effectively Apple's voice recognition software something that I can later be reminded about. So there is a general awareness that writing things down is more secure. And if you have a repositionable notebook, which effectively is what this is, then that's even more secure, because if you have I got one somewhere here? No, somewhere. Okay. If you have a moleskin notebook, you just jot down something. you can't necessarily keep on tearing pages out so that you keep things up to date and as secure as possible in case you have a burglary or you lose your moleskin. So I think that the popularity of filofaxes and other binders as a working tool is on the rise, not a decline. So I'm very, very happy that I get feedback from people telling me that my enthusiasm for filofaxes and other binders as working tools, as a working system, is infectious. That's great feedback. Thank you very much. Next comment. It's about the length of my podcasts. I mean, here we are. I'm looking at 30, 35, 36 minutes. But I feel comfortable about it because I get comments like this. This subscriber says, "Talk as long as you like. I love it." And here I am doing that right now. They varied between 20 minutes and 96 minutes. 17 minutes was my first one. And I only talked about one subject, so I grew in confidence and started talking in a way that is more like the podcast format that many of us are familiar with, or at least learning about. So I appreciate that it's not for everybody. And originally I was thinking, as I've mentioned before, I was thinking of doing some shorts as well, so people could choose between the long form video podcast and shorts. But on reflection and following some feedback, I decided not to do that. But what I am doing, as you've noticed from the last two, at least the last two episodes of this video podcast, is that I'm putting detailed chapters in so that you can look in the description, or you can look at effectively the bar if you're looking using a desktop machine or a laptop. You can see the headings of the chapters all the way along, and so you can effectively get to the parts you want and dip in and out just like you would chapters of a book. So I'm trying to make sure that it's not. I'm trying to make sure that it's between 30 minutes and 45 minutes, and I think I'm on target here. I mean, we're up to 38 minutes now. Might be slightly longer than 45. I don't know. It depends how much digression how many times I digress, which is something that I'm akin to, prone to do. But I am getting good feedback about how no one said they're far too long, but people are just generally okay with it. So I'm hoping that I think this sort of informal style where I'm just chatting about stuff. When I do this, I don't see myself like on a virtual version of an auditorium when I imagine that I'm just talking to you, and it's just you and me, and no one else. And okay, it might be 5 people, it might be 100 people, it might be 1,000 people, but when I'm chatting away like this, I see it as I'm just talking to one person, and like we're having a drink in an English country pub. Not that I'm a big drinker, but I've had one alcoholic drink this year, and we're into April, so I'm not exactly a heavy drinker by any chance, but I do think of myself having a pint in an English country pub and I'm chatting to just one person when I'm talking about things in this video podcast. Next comment. Hello, enjoying your coffee break chats, although I don't call them coffee break chats anymore, they're video podcasts, but they did start as coffee break chats because my original intention was to have them no longer than it would take to drink a coffee. Well, as you can see, that's gone out the window. I mean, you'd need a flask, and a big one, if you were having this as a coffee break, wouldn't you? This lady says, enjoying your coffee break chats. You mentioned that you have other YouTube channels. What are they, please? Thank you. Well, I play my cards close to my chest because I've got 14 other YouTube channels. Some of them are mere experiments. Some of them are private for family, if you like. Some of them are experiments I've started and decided not to. But I may reveal some in the future. But I do have one that essentially is a collection of I call it Coffee with Neil, and there's a link to it in the description of this video. And it is just a mixture. It gives an indication of the type of videos I like to make, and nothing more than that. So I am sorry that I can't be more specific. I may add more, but at the moment I just have one featured video to this channel, which is Coffee with Neil, and you can find it in the description of each video I make. So I hope that kind of helps, if you like. Next question. Yes, I watch your videos on my phone while working, so I'm often looking up. And working while listening to you. Thanks for another great vid. Well, that's great. I'll give that comment a silver star because I've already given the gold star out for this podcast. But it is. I obviously can't put myself in the mind of viewers, but I do find it very gratifying that people are enjoying the videos I make. And I started a couple of years ago making these videos because it was around about that time that my how long I would be on this planet was under some debate, I suppose. And so because I'm very much interested in, say, family history, I wanted to, and I'm also acutely aware that where as time goes on, things get lost within I buy Victorian photograph albums, which have been clearly chucked away at we call them car boot sales, but I guess you call them yard sales if you're in America. How can that possibly happen? How can the chain of custody of important information be truncated like that? So this is not exactly the same thing, but I am. How do I put this? So we all have a limited time on this planet, some more than others. But I've got I've got enough enthusiasm about this subject and other subjects as well for many lifetimes. So I quite like the idea, no matter how remote, I quite like the idea that someone, I mean, I'm recording this in April 2023. And it's just possible in the future, maybe 100 years, 50 years time, 100 years time, 200 years time, that someone will be watching and listening to this. You know, I mean, we see sort of these grainy images of Queen Victoria. We can even hear her voice on a waxed cylinder. Very, very, very difficult to hear, but there we are. So we're not listening to Queen Victoria on that original wax cylinder. We're listening to a recording of that wax cylinder, like a re-recording, in a format that can be distributed on the internet. And so I think the genie is out of the bottle. I really do think that even if, say, YouTube as a platform disappears, there will be another platform to take over. That information will not be lost. Maybe some of it will, but it's I quite enjoy the fact that, I'm not saying it's a legacy or anything, but long after I've gone, I hope to be continuing to share my passion with you. So if you are out there right now and it is the 22nd century, well, welcome. And I hope you enjoy what my enthusiasm that I'm sending you through the ether, as it were. And I quite like that. So I get a lot of benefit from the fact that there are people watching and sharing in my enthusiasm, and even if it's only a handful of people, it's clearly more than a handful of people, but even if it's just one person, I want to do this. Final comment from a subscriber this week is about this telephone engineer's binder. And they say, I wonder how many companies personalised filofaxes in this way. Well, I don't know. But I'm sure there are. I have seen, for instance, binders. I'm pretty sure that I've seen online binders that commemorate Concorde, various motor manufacturers. Some of them look very, very much like they're made by filofax, others not so, but certainly they are to this sort of design. So even if they're not made by filofax, they might well be made in the same factories around the world, or in England if they were from the 60s, 70s. So the answer is I just don't know. But I suspect that there are many. As far as this telecom contract, I mean, I'm just assuming that they were made under contracts, a certain number, and they were distributed to their field engineers. And there's a certain. This one, I like the specification, which I think is a fantastic thing. You've got two. I mean, you'll have to look at the review I did a few months back about this, but it's got two pockets, two horizontal, rather than vertical pockets, it's got two horizontal pockets. And I think that's a fabulous thing, because I know people bang on about the fact that vertical pockets mean that if you put a piece of paper in there, it's unlikely to be lost. But nevertheless, I think it's a right old faff. I'd much rather see vertical pockets than horizontal pockets, especially. And I know I'm digressing here, but let me have a look. Let me find a Winchester. Okay, so this is your archetypal Winchester. Okay, lovely, isn't it? Absolutely lovely. But you've got two horizontal pockets here, two vertical full-length pockets here. Now, let's just say I want to put this piece of paper. I've made a note and I want to put it in here. Right. So what I've got to do, I've got to bend this flap up, and then even though this is gusseted, it's a real pain, and I mean, goodness knows if you had several bits of paper in here. I mean, it's really. Can you imagine in your so just say you're a field service engineer doing telephones, and you've got this you've got this address of this customer you've got to go to. So you're trying to put it in here, and oh dear, it's just a ridiculous. If you want something to be stored where it's highly unlikely to ever come out, go for a Winchester. If I could go back in time and say to filofax, please don't please change this idea. This I mean, this probably goes back to the 1920s, doesn't it? But look at this. So you've got the same bit of paper. Okay, and we put it in there. Okay, it's a little bit tight, but there. So, and I did that one-handed, and then you can close it, and then you can open it, and you've probably got jobs that you need to do. This is the filofax binder is reference stuff, presumably. Jobs that you've got to do, and then when you've finished a job, you can put it at the back, and then you can keep tabs on, almost like an inbox and an outbox. Perfect. So I know I've digressed a little bit with that, but this is a situation where clearly the client, i.e. British Telecom, looked at the product. I'm pretty sure they did. They looked at the product. Oh, look, a Winchester. Would that be suitable for British Telecom engineers? And they looked at it and said, that's not suitable for us. So what we'll do, we'll contact filofax and say, we'll keep quiet about the fact about what we think of the Winchester. What we'll ask for is, can you make something where the pockets are to our specification, because that's going to be better for our engineers. And by the way, can you make it out of slightly cheaper materials so that the contract cost is advantageous to us? And so that's the sort of thing I imagine would have been quite common back in the day, because at the end of the day, filofaxes themselves would have been used in business more than they are now. So obviously it's a collaboration between the design specification asked for by British Telecom in the day, and the filofax's ability to cater for that change of specification. But I think this probably happens quite regularly. I think the if some of the marketing stuff, Rolls-Royce, for instance, wanting a filofax for their owner's handbook in the glove box. I think that probably there wasn't so much there wasn't so many requests for customization, but I may be wrong. But certainly as a working tool, I mean, why did I buy this all those months ago, and why have I still got it? Well, because to me, it is the perfect working tool in terms of the pockets, and so I really, really like it. And I'm sure that British Telecom liked it, and I'm sure that if I was an engineer, I would like it, and I'm sure that the knowledge of the fact that there were companies out there that could, like filofax, who could change the specification to suit the client, would have been, it's not exclusive knowledge to the arrangement with British Telecom and filofax. People move around. Bosses move from company to company. People know about this sort of stuff. So I'm sure that this was quite common, but in terms of do I know these companies? No, I don't. But I hope that that sort of brief discussion helps answer your question. So I'm coming up to 56 minutes. So I'm going to leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed today. One further thing, if you want me to send you this free of charge, I'll pay the postage as well. You've got to leave a comment. You can leave a comment in any of the video. Just leave the comment including the word Kensington. You've got to be a subscriber, and can you also please make sure that you do live in the UK, because if you win and you're in America, I'll have to redo the competition draw, as it were. So I'm trusting you to only take part if you have a UK address, either your own or a friend's, and they could ship it out to you wherever you are. So hopefully that'll be a bit of fun. I might do a few more, but I just wanted to acquire this to review it and see to evaluate it, to compare with other Kensingtons in larger sizes, and so I've done that now. So this is now I need to find a good home for it, and so I'd like to find that in amongst subscribers. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching or listening, as the case may be. If you're that gentleman sitting in your car right now, thank you very much for listening. And I don't know yet how frequently I'm going to be doing these, but I'm trying to do them fairly regularly. But they clearly, they're not all. They started midweek, and then I did one at the weekend, and I didn't do one. I'm recording this on a Monday. I didn't do this for Sunday, so it is very, very much as you find it. But it's okay. Subscribe, and then you won't miss any when I do them. But thank you very much for watching, listening once again, and until next time, goodbye.